Good morning. Welcome to the software engineering course. We were looking into software lifecycle models in the previous lectures. Let's continue with software lifecycle models again. Today we will be dealing with Agile development models. Now as said now, Agile development model is a software development lifecycle model. It is not a single process or model, but it is actually a group of models. So it is actually an umbrella term for a group of development processes. It was proposed in the mid 1990s to overcome the shortcomings of the waterfall model. Its main aim is to facilitate quick project completion, and it avoids any activity that wastes time and effort and hence attains agility. That is the reason why the model is named as Agile Development Model. Now let's look into working. Agile models adopt an iterative approach. The requirements are decomposed into many small parts that are incrementally developed. Each incremental part is developed over an iteration, and at a time only one increment is planned and developed and then deployed at the customer site. The time to complete an iteration is called a time box. So the main idea of agile modeling is to divide the project into small parts, and these parts are considered as an increment, and that increment is developed individually one at a time, and at the time taken for completing that iteration is called time box, and once that increment is over, it is handed over to the customer for suggestions. Now let's look into some features. The end date for an iteration does not change. That is, the time box has fixed start and end dates, and if necessary, the functionality of the iteration or the increment that is developed can be reduced if necessary. At the end of a time box, an increment is delivered to the customer, and a customer representative is always part of the team. At the end of each iteration, all the stakeholders, including the customer, review the project and look into the progress of the project and re-evaluate the requirements. It emphasizes face-to-face communication over documentation. Now, what are the principles followed by the Agile model? It gives importance to working software over documentation. It mandates frequent delivery of incremental versions of the working software, and requirement change requests from the customers are encouraged and incorporated. This is a major change from the waterfall model. And customer interaction is considered more important, and there is a need for daily and continuous cooperation between customers and developers, and it employs pair programming. Pair programming is that two programmers work together on one workstation. While one types out the code, the other reviews the code, and this is alternated after an hour. That is, the person who was typing the code becomes the reviewer after 1 hour, and the person who was reviewing earlier becomes the one who types the code. And the development team size is always kept small, is usually between the range of 5 to 9 people. And what are the problems associated with the Agile model? The major problems associated with the Agile model are due to inadequate documentation. So the lack of adequate documentation leads to confusion and misinterpretation. Since formal documents are absent, it is difficult to review the project or the software by external experts, and maintenance becomes a problem once the project team disperses. Now let's look into some agile models, the popular agile models. Crystal, Aturn or DSDM, that is Dynamic System Development Method, Feature Driven Development, Scrum, Extreme Programming, Lean Development, and Unified Process. These are the names of some popular agile models. We'll be looking into two of these, extreme programming and Scrum. So this is a comparison between the agile model and the iterative waterfall model. In agile model, progress is measured on the basis of developed and delivered functionality, while in the iterative waterfall model, it is highly structured and systematic, and progress is measured in terms of completed documents. If the agile model is cancelled in midway, some code will be available of the work that is being already done. And if the waterfall model is cancelled in midway, there is nothing to show other than some developed documents. Another comparison between the agile model and the exploratory model. Agile model emphasizes face-to-face communication, and they use past use of documentation and have re-evaluation of plans. This is also same for the exploratory model, but the difference is here. Systematic and disciplined processes require requirements capture and rigorous design is done in agile models, while in exploratory models, the coding is considered to be chaotic. Another comparison between the RAD model. Agile model does not recommend developing prototypes, while the RAD model is based on designing quick and dirty prototypes which are then refined. Agile models logically break down solutions into features that are incrementally developed and delivered, while the RAD model focuses on development of all features of an application first and then improving them. In the Agile model, only completed work are demonstrated to the customer. In the RAD model, it demonstrates prototypes, customer screens, etc. Now let's look into extreme programming, short form that's XP. It's an agile process model and was proposed by Kent Beck in 1999. It takes the best practices that have worked well in past projects to extreme levels. Now XP is based on the fact that if something is beneficial, then it can be put to constant use. That is based on this idea that if something is beneficial, it should be put into use. Now XP is some features of XP. XP is based on frequent releases called iteration. It uses something called user stories. User story is a conversational description by the user about a feature of the required system, or it is just a simple statement of a customer about a functionality it needs. It does not mention detailed information like scenarios. Scenarios are the various situations that can arise by a action other than the main action. Based on user stories, metaphors are proposed by the project team. Metaphors are common vision of how the system should work. The development team may construct a spike. A spike is similar to a prototype. It is a simple program that is constructed to explain the suitability of the solution being proposed. So this is a comparison between the agile model and the iterative waterfall model. In Agile model, progress is measured on the basis of developed and delivered functionality, while in the iterative waterfall model, it is highly structured and systematic, and progress is measured in terms of completed documents. If the Agile model is cancelled in midway, some code will be available of the work that is being already done. And if the waterfall model is cancelled in midway, there is nothing to show other than some developed documents. Another comparison between the Agile model and the exploratory model. Agile model emphasizes face-to-face communication, and they use sparse use of documentation and have re-evaluation of plans. This is also same for the exploratory model, but the difference is here. Systematic and disciplined processes require requirements capture and rigorous design is done in Agile model, while in exploratory models, the coding is considered to be chaotic. Another comparison between the RAD model. Agile model does not recommend developing prototypes, while the RAD model is based on designing quick and dirty prototypes which are then refined. Agile models logically break down solutions into features that are incrementally developed and delivered, while the RAD model focuses on development of all features of an application first and then improving them. In the Agile model, only completed work are demonstrated to the customer. In the RAD model, it demonstrates prototypes, customer screens, etc. Now, XP is in favor of making the solution of a problem as simple as possible. It is suitable for small projects, projects involving new technologies or research projects, and is usually not suitable for mission critical or safety critical projects and projects with stable requirements. So, it helps in evolving the requirements, or in cases where requirements are not so clear, XP can be employed. Now let's look into Scrum. Scrum is also an agile framework for delivering and sustaining complex products with an initial emphasis on software development. It's been used in other fields including research, sales, marketing and advanced technologies. It's designed for teams of 10 or fewer members. The Scrum co-creators are Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland. Now the term Scrum was borrowed from rugby, where it is a formation of players and was first used in 1986. Now in this model, as in the XP model, a project is divided into small parts that can be incrementally developed over time, and these boxes are called sprints. The software thus gets developed over a series of manageable chunks. Each sprint typically takes only a couple of weeks to complete. The Scrum team track progress in 15-minute time-boxed daily meetings called daily scrums. At the end of each sprint, the stakeholders and team members need to access the progress made. Any changes or improvements needed are suggested to the development team. In the Scrum model, the team master assumes three roles: the software owner, Scrum master, and team member. The software owner is responsible for communicating the customer vision of the software to the development team. The Scrum master acts as a liaison between the software owner and the team. So this is a comparison between the Agile model and the iterative waterfall model. In Agile model, progress is measured on the basis of developed and delivered functionalities, while in the iterative waterfall model, it is highly structured and systematic, and progress is measured in terms of completed documents. If the Agile model is cancelled in midway, some code will be available of the work that is being already done. And if the waterfall model is cancelled in midway, there is nothing to show other than some development. So we have come to the end of almost the software lifecycle models, and we have seen so many models. So how can we select an appropriate lifecycle model for a project? Now it is based on three characteristics. First one, the characteristics of the software to be developed. If we are doing small projects, agile models will be good. If object-oriented projects are used, evolutionary models will be good. If embedded software projects are being done, iterative waterfall model will be good. Now the second is based on the characteristics of the development team. If a team is experienced in developing familiar software, even embedded software using iterative waterfall models can be used. If the team members are novices, prototyping models can be used. Now it is based also on the characteristics of the customer. Prototyping model is better if the customer requirements are prone to change, or if the customer is not so thorough on the requirements that he needs. Prototyping type models will be the best. So in this module, we have come to the end of module 1 also. We saw what a software or a system development life cycle is, what are the phases that are usually there in a general life cycle, various classifications of SDLCs, and the features and shortcomings of each. So now let's look into Scrum. Scrum is also an agile framework for delivering and sustaining complex products with an initial emphasis on software development. It's been used in other fields including research, sales, marketing, and advanced technologies. It is designed for teams of 10 or fewer members. The Scrum co-creators are Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland. Now the term Scrum was borrowed from rugby, where it is formed. Thank you.